They might be the most hated nation in world football.
I've changed my mind now on Messi and Ronaldo. I was Team Messi for a long, long time.
More than 23 million people reportedly signed the Leave Argentina petition, which called for a lifetime ban on Argentina competing in the FIFA World Cup. According to Euronews, the petition reached 23,316,108 signatures before it closed. The petition claimed that FIFA and some referees showed favoritism toward Argentina and captain Lionel Messi. It also asked, why should the rest of the world compete when the winner is already known? Exclude Argentina from the World Cup and give everyone a fair chance. Those claims reflected the opinions of the petition's organizers and supporters, rather than established facts. The original goal was just 5 million signatures, but the total quickly passed that number several times over. Supporters said the huge response showed how many fans were unhappy with Argentina's World Cup campaign, with many believing FIFA favored the team and that refereeing decisions often worked in its favor. Those allegations have remained a topic of debate and have not been officially confirmed. By the time the petition closed, it had come close to one of the biggest petition records ever. According to Guinness World Records, the largest petition remains Jubilee 2000, which collected more than 24 million signatures between 1997 and 2000, calling for the cancellation of unpayable debts owed by the world's poorest countries. Even with its massive number of signatures, the petition did not lead to any action against Argentina or any response from FIFA regarding the requested ban. For many people who supported it, the only satisfaction came when Argentina lost the final. The petition ended with the message, FIFA ignored us, but Spain kept its promises. Thank you, Spain.
I find it hard to watch Fernandes. I find it hard to watch Paredes. There is an attitude to their players. Is it in them, the way that they're educated, the way that they grow up? They just have this about them where they want to leave something on everybody. You know, they're not satisfied with just getting to an opponent. They've got to push someone, step on someone. It's just what they do. I think we should be trying to stamp that out a little bit with the refereeing going forward. You know, young people watching it, impressionable. It can't just suddenly be a tear up at the end of the match. I actually thought the Spanish players showed a great deal of restraint and they didn't make that the story. They're the winners of the World Cup and they rightfully deserve that. They didn't want to get pulled into some fight with a bunch of thugs really at the end of the match.
By the time the final whistle echoed across the stadium, the match was no longer the biggest story. Within seconds, players were clashing instead of celebrating. One man grabbed an opponent by the throat. Another was already down on the turf. A defender rushed past the newly crowned world champions and struck the world's top midfielder in the ribs. An assistant coach got right into a Spanish forward's face. Coaches had to drag their own players away by their shirts. As confetti continued to fall, one player, in blue and white, quietly walked from rival to rival, shaking hands, looking like the only person on his team who had accepted the result. Just moments before, they were the reigning world champions. Now, they were facing disciplinary scrutiny in Zurich. In this video, we break down every major incident from that afternoon in New Jersey, the banner in Atlanta that sparked controversy, and the red card that appeared, then quietly disappeared from the official record. Everything unfolded in barely half a minute. 4 separate confrontations erupted one after another, turning the closing moments into complete chaos.
It was entirely inappropriate. Politics needs to be separate from football. In fact, the World Cup has one of its central tenets, that politics is separate from football. Now, that is now a matter for FIFA. I expect FIFA to do its investigation thoroughly. It was such an egregious violation of the rules of not having political activity as part of the football. So I think we can expect that investigation to unfold, and it certainly should do. It was entirely inappropriate.
By the end of this video, you'll see why Argentina's biggest concern is not how severe the punishment could be. The real issue is when any decision arrives. If the process drags on, there is a real chance the fallout could reach the next World Cup qualifying campaign. To understand how it got this far, rewind 4 days to Atlanta and a banner passed from the crowd to the players. The controversy did not begin in the final. It started during the semi-final. Argentina had just defeated England 2-1 after falling behind early. Late goals from Enzo Fernandez and Lautaro Martinez completed the comeback, sending Thomas Tuchel's team out of the tournament. It was one of Argentina's biggest wins in recent years, and the celebrations quickly took over. Giovanni Lo Celso, accepted a banner from supporters and held it up on the pitch with teammates including Lisandro Martinez, Christian Romero, and Nicolas Otamendi. The message read, in Spanish, that the Malvinas are Argentine. Translated into English, it says that the Falkland Islands belong to Argentina. For anyone unfamiliar with the history, this is a deeply sensitive political issue. The islands are a British overseas territory in the South Atlantic. In 1982, Argentina's military government launched an invasion. Britain responded by sending a military task force, and the conflict lasted for about 10 weeks.
I believe that there are at least 3 Argentinian players who play in the English Premier League. If they want to unfurl a banner, effectively mocking the deaths of 255 British soldiers, let's respond in kind, revoke their visas and right to play here, and boot them out of the country and out of the Premiership permanently.
The conflict claimed the lives of 655 Argentine service members, 255 British service members, and 3 island residents. More than 4 decades later, it remains one of the most sensitive issues between the two countries. So when several Argentina players displayed that banner on live television in front of a global audience, moments after eliminating England from the World Cup in the United States, the reaction came almost immediately. The British government responded within a day. A spokesperson for the Prime Minister said that while the World Cup was not British, the Falkland Islands were. Politician Ed Davey also urged FIFA to take action without delay. Soon after, FIFA confirmed that its independent disciplinary committee was reviewing the official match reports before deciding what, if any, steps would follow. Behind the careful wording, the situation was already moving forward. A disciplinary case had effectively been opened. FIFA's disciplinary code clearly prohibits gestures, words, objects, or other actions used to communicate messages considered inappropriate for a sporting event, including those viewed as political, ideological, religious, or offensive. FIFA's rules do not make exceptions for celebrations, expressions of national feeling, or banners handed over by supporters instead of brought onto the pitch by players. What made the situation even more serious was that Argentina had faced discipline over the same message before. In June 2014, just days before the World Cup in Brazil, the squad displayed a banner with the same slogan before a friendly against Slovenia in La Plata. FIFA launched an investigation into what it described as a possible breach of its rules on preventing provocative and aggressive conduct. The Argentine Football Association was later formally reprimanded and fined, with reports putting the penalty at 30,000 Swiss francs. 12 years later, the same slogan, the same governing body, and the same regulations meant many reports quickly raised the possibility of a repeat offense. FIFA has previously issued fines for political messaging that often fall between roughly $5,000 and $20,000. But an incident during a World Cup, in front of the sport's biggest audience, is very different from one during a friendly match. The debate grew even larger when Argentina's president, Javier Milei, defended the celebration, called the message a view shared by many Argentines, and said he expected FIFA would issue a fine anyway. The situation grew even more complicated when the White House publicly defended the players' right to express their views on free speech grounds. That left the United States and the United Kingdom taking different public positions over an incident linked to a football tournament hosted on American soil. Argentina entered the World Cup final with an active disciplinary case, a political dispute unfolding in the background, and public backing from their own president, who insisted the players had done nothing wrong. Reports from Spain suggested FIFA had already decided that no ruling would be made before the tournament ended, meaning no player would miss the final. Argentine newspaper Clarín also reported that fines appeared more likely than suspensions, with match bans usually reserved for especially serious or repeat disciplinary cases. When Argentina stepped onto the field at MetLife Stadium on July 19, the investigation was already underway. Less than 2 hours later, events on the pitch would create an even bigger disciplinary issue. What unfolded after the final whistle was more than a controversy. It was a complete breakdown of order in front of one of the largest television audiences in the world. Before getting into everything that happened after the final whistle, it's important to look at the match itself because it explains why emotions were running so high. Spain were not just the better team. They dominated from start to finish. Luis de la Fuente's side controlled possession from the opening minutes, finishing with about 66% of the ball and nearly 600 completed passes. Argentina finished with fewer than 300 completed passes. Then came the statistic that defined the night. Across the entire 90 minutes of a World Cup final, Argentina failed to register a single shot. Nothing on target, nothing off target. They ended with 0 attempts and only 2 touches inside Spain's penalty area. They became the first team in World Cup final history to go the full 90 minutes without attempting a shot. The only reason the score stayed level for so long was Emiliano Martinez. He denied Pau Kubasi, Pedri, Nico Williams and Ferran Torres from close range after Lamine Yamal cut the ball back. Late in normal time, Martinez stretched across his goal to stop a Yamal free kick that was heading for the corner. By the end of the night, he had made 11 saves, setting a World Cup final record. Spain also had a goal from Williams, ruled out after a foul by Nico Moreno on Otamendi during the build-up. The turning point arrived deep into stoppage time at the end of normal time. Enzo Fernandez, already carrying a yellow card, brought down Pau Kubasi with a late challenge. Referee Slavko Vincic of Slovenia immediately showed a second yellow, followed by a red card. The decision was reviewed, but it stood. Argentina would have to play extra time with 10 men. From that moment, Lionel Scaloni's approach looked clear. Hold on, reach penalties, and trust Emiliano Martinez to deliver again. Argentina survived into the second half of extra time. Then, just 39 seconds after play restarted, Spain found the breakthrough. Pedro Porro delivered a cross, Nico Williams headed it back across goal, and Ferran Torres fired a first-time finish into the roof of the net. Spain were world champions for the second time, 16 years after lifting their first title. Argentina, after scoring 19 goals on the road to the final, lost the biggest match without managing a single shot. Keep that in mind alongside the fatigue, the disadvantage of playing with 10 men, and the tension that had been building throughout the week. Several Spain players had publicly questioned Argentina's style of play before the final, and that backdrop made the ending even more intense. Before the match, Spain defender Aymeric Laporte said in an interview that he had no issue with physical football, but claimed some recent incidents involving Argentina had gone unpunished. He described them as a team that liked to leave little messages through their challenges. From Spain's point of view, those comments were a fair opinion about the standard of officiating. In Argentina, many saw them differently, believing they placed unnecessary public pressure on the referee before a World Cup final. So when the final whistle sounded, Nicolas Otamendi headed straight toward his former Manchester City teammate Rodri, who had just been named the tournament's outstanding player and had approached to shake his hand. Otamendi did not return the handshake. Instead, he told Rodri he had talked too much during the week, accused Spain of repeatedly complaining about the referees, and mentioned Aymeric Laporte by name, saying they had spent the week criticizing officials. Rodri appeared confused and asked what Otamendi was referring to. Otamendi responded by asking whether Rodri had not seen Laporte's interview. Rodri then walked away, ending what turned out to be the least heated exchange on the field. Just a few yards away, the situation had already become far more serious. Video from the incident is now central to the disciplinary review. Leandro Paredes, who had entered as a substitute and had already been booked earlier in the match, rushed into a group of players and placed a hand on Spain defender Eric Garcia's throat. Garcia fell to the ground during the confrontation. Paredes then moved toward Gavi, who moments earlier had gone down following an incident involving Thiago Almada. Thiago Almada pulled Paredes away from the confrontation. At nearly the same moment, Argentina fullback Nahuel Molina made contact with Rodri as the Spain captain ran past toward his teammates to celebrate. On the touchline, assistant coach Roberto Ayala also became involved in a heated exchange with Dani Olmo, moving very close to the Spain forward during the incident. Players and coaching staff from both teams rushed in as the situation escalated. Lionel Scaloni and members of his staff physically pulled several Argentina players away to calm things down. Referee Slavko Vincic stepped in to regain control, while Lionel Messi stayed out of the confrontation and walked across the field, shaking hands with as many Spain players as he could find. After the match, the Argentina squad did not stop to speak with the media. They skipped the mix zone and left through a separate exit before boarding the team bus. But the biggest twist of the night was still to come. and it would become one of the most closely discussed parts of the entire incident. In the immediate aftermath, many reports claimed that Leandro Paredes had received a straight red card from Vintage for the clash with Eric Garcia. Numerous news outlets repeated the claim, and photos from the incident spread quickly. To anyone following the story, it appeared an Argentina player had been sent off after the final whistle of a World Cup final. Then, the official match report was released. No red card appeared. FIFA later confirmed to the BBC that Paredes had not been shown a red card during the incident, that the referee had taken no disciplinary action at the time, and that no such sanction appeared in FIFA's official records. At first, many people believed Paredes had avoided punishment. That was the immediate reaction, but the situation was more complicated than it appeared. If a player is sent off during a match, the disciplinary process is usually straightforward. A suspension is applied under the standard rules, the case is processed, and the matter is often settled quickly. Without a red card, however, the incident does not simply disappear. Instead, it moves to FIFA's disciplinary process, where officials have much greater flexibility in deciding what action, if any, should be taken. 2 days after the final, FIFA confirmed that this was exactly what had happened. In an official statement, the organization said that after reviewing the match reports from the World Cup final between Spain and Argentina, and in line with Article 36 of the FIFA Disciplinary Code, its disciplinary committee had appointed a disciplinary and ethics prosecutor to investigate possible breaches linked to the post-match incidents. FIFA added that more information would be released once the prosecutor completed the investigation. That detail is significant. Article 36 allows FIFA's Secretariat to appoint a prosecutor to carry out inquiries into alleged disciplinary violations. This was no longer just a referee's decision on the field. FIFA had formally assigned an investigator to examine the events in detail. By appointing a disciplinary and ethics prosecutor, rather than dealing with a single on-field offense, FIFA signaled that it was reviewing the wider conduct of players and officials. The investigation could consider possible breaches involving misconduct, offensive behavior, fair play, and the maintenance of order and security during the match. These are not unfamiliar sections of the FIFA Disciplinary Code for Argentina. Similar provisions have been considered in previous cases. What stood out this time was something else. FIFA gave no timeline for the investigation. There was no indication of when a decision might arrive. That uncertainty could end up being just as important as the eventual outcome. So what penalties are possible? Article 14 of the FIFA Disciplinary Code outlines sanctions for match-related offences. Violent conduct carries a minimum suspension of 3 matches. Assault, which the code defines as actions including elbowing, punching, kicking, biting, spitting at, or striking an opponent or another person other than a match official, also brings a minimum suspension of 3 matches. The key word is minimum. The regulations do not set a fixed upper limit, and FIFA has imposed longer suspensions in past cases when it considered them appropriate. One detail works in Argentina's favor. Any suspension of this kind would apply only to matches involving the national team the player represented during the incident. It would not affect domestic league or club competitions such as the Premier League or La Liga. FIFA can also fine the National Association separately from any punishment given to individual players. So who could face action? Leandro Paredes is the most obvious name. The incident involving Eric Garcia, the clash with Gavi, the fact he had already been booked, and the lack of any on-field sanction all place him at the center of the investigation. Nahuel Molina is also likely to come under scrutiny after making contact with Rodri during Spain's celebrations. Thiago Almada is also part of the investigation because of the incident involving Gavi. At the same time, the footage appears to show him pulling Leandro Paredes away moments later, a detail that could become important if FIFA considers the full sequence of events, rather than one isolated moment. Cases like this often depend on every available angle. Roberto Ayala could face even closer scrutiny. As a member of the coaching staff, rather than a player, his role is different. FIFA has often expected coaches and team officials to help calm tense situations, and disciplinary cases involving staff can be viewed differently because of that responsibility. Nicolas Otamendi falls into another category. His confrontation was verbal, and exchanges of words alone rarely lead to suspensions. However, he was also among the players photographed with the banner in Atlanta, linking his name to the separate disciplinary case. Attention also extends to the players involved in the semi-final celebration. Lisandro Martinez, Christian Romero, and Giovanni Lo Celso have all been mentioned in reports as possible subjects of individual disciplinary action related to the banner, separate from any sanction imposed on the Argentine Football Association. Enzo Fernandez is in a more straightforward position after receiving a second yellow card in the final, triggering the standard automatic suspension that is separate from the ongoing investigation. Taken together, Argentina could be dealing with three separate issues at once: a possible fine over the banner, individual disciplinary action connected to that incident, and a wider investigation into the post-match confrontations. The biggest concern may not be how severe the penalties are, but when any decisions are announced, the timing could have a major impact on the next international window, now scheduled as one extended period from September 21 through October 6. That international window will include 4 matches. For Argentina, those games are expected to be friendlies. South American qualifying for the next World Cup has not yet begun, and no competitive fixtures are currently scheduled during that period. If FIFA reaches a decision quickly, even a 3-match suspension would likely only affect friendly matches. Several players would miss those games, and the issue could fade before competitive football returns. The uncertainty is that FIFA has not given any timeline. Investigations like this have often taken weeks, and in some cases even months, before a final ruling is announced. If the sanctions arrive after that international window, they do not disappear. They remain in place until Argentina's next eligible fixtures. That is where the situation becomes much more significant. Argentina's next competitive matches are expected to be qualifiers for the 2028 Copa America, followed by qualification for the 2030 World Cup. Missing key players in those matches would be far more damaging than serving suspensions during a series of friendlies. With the squad already entering a new era, losing experienced players at the start of an important campaign could create major problems. To understand what might happen, it helps to look at previous disciplinary cases. One example comes from Argentina's own recent history. After the 2022 World Cup, FIFA opened an investigation into the team's conduct following the final, examining possible breaches involving offensive behavior, fair play, and the conduct of players and team officials. That investigation ended with a financial penalty, reported to be more than $24,000. No suspensions were handed out, and the case was closed. A similar outcome followed Argentina's heated quarterfinal against the Netherlands at the same tournament. FIFA opened disciplinary proceedings, fines were issued, and no players received match bans. Those examples may offer some reassurance, but they are not the comparison that raises the biggest questions. A more relevant example comes from Uruguay. After the 2024 Copa America semi-final against Colombia in Charlotte, several Uruguay players entered the stands and became involved in confrontations with opposing supporters. The Uruguayan Federation argued the players had acted in self-defense, but that defense was unsuccessful. Darwin Núñez received a 5-match suspension. Rodrigo Bentancur was banned for 4 matches, while Jose Maria Giménez, Matias Oliveira, and Ronald Araujo each received 3-match suspensions. Uruguay appealed to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, but every suspension was upheld. That case remains one of the clearest recent examples of how serious disciplinary action can become when post-match confrontations involve national team players. Away from FIFA's investigation, another story has unfolded online. Petitions have attracted huge attention despite carrying no legal authority. One calling for the World Cup final to be replayed reportedly gathered more than 82,000 signatures within a day. Another demanding Argentina's permanent expulsion from the tournament has been reported to attract support in the tens of millions. Those petitions do not determine FIFA's decisions. What they do reflect is the scale of the public reaction. Former England goalkeeper Joe Hart summed up his view by saying the one player who showed composure was Messi, who stayed away from the confrontation and shook hands with every Spain player he could find. Joe Hart did not hold back. He described the behavior after the final whistle as disgusting and said Argentina had no reason to complain about the result. Wayne Rooney shared a similar view, saying the scenes did not surprise him because he believed Argentina had been involved in similar controversies before. He added that when a team loses, the right response is to accept the result with respect and move on, calling the aftermath sad and disappointing. Spain head coach Luis de la Fuente also condemned the confrontation, describing it as inadmissible. Not everyone took the same position though. Gavi, who was involved in one of the incidents, publicly argued that Leandro Paredes should not face a suspension. He acknowledged the scenes were not a good example for young fans, but said football has always included a physical and emotional side. In his view, the matter should have ended with an on-field red card if the referee believed one was deserved. As Gavi put it, "It is all football and it has to be that way." Those comments could become relevant as FIFA reviews the case, especially because they came from a player directly involved in the confrontation. Argentina's response was more divided. Roberto Ayala accepted some responsibility for his actions, explaining that his intention had been to separate those involved rather than make the situation worse. He admitted emotions took over, said that was not an excuse for how he reacted, and described it as an instinctive response to something said to him. Ayala also recognized that Spain had been the better team and deserved to win the final. Lionel Scaloni chose a measured response after the final. He did not criticize the officiating and openly admitted Spain had been the better team. He spoke about dignity instead, saying Argentina should show respect in both victory and defeat. He added that accepting the result did not erase everything the squad had achieved on the road to the final. Leandro Paredes, whose actions are at the center of FIFA's investigation, shared a message thanking the people of Argentina. He said he carried a heavy heart for not bringing home the trophy, but also felt proud of the effort the team had given. He described it as an honor to represent what he called the best Argentina national team in history. What stood out to many observers was what the statement did not include. There was no apology, no reference to Eric Garcia, and no mention of the post-match confrontation. Whether that becomes meaningful in the disciplinary process remains to be seen, but it added another layer to the discussion surrounding the case. For now, the football consequences may be less dramatic than the headlines suggest. Financial penalties appear likely, and some players could receive suspensions, with Leandro Paredes and Nahuel Molina among the names most often mentioned in reports. If those bans are issued soon, they would likely be served during friendly matches before competitive fixtures resume. The bigger question is what comes next for this Argentina team. The squad is entering a period of transition. Lionel Messi's international future remains uncertain, and that afternoon in New Jersey could prove to be his final World Cup appearance. Emiliano Martinez also left his future with the national team unresolved. As one generation moves on, the next will inherit both the expectations and the scrutiny that now surround the shirt. In the end, it was not just the trophy that slipped away. It was the story surrounding this Argentina team. For years, they embraced their intensity, confidence, and relentless mentality as the qualities that made them champions. But after losing a World Cup final without registering a single shot, that image was suddenly viewed in a very different light. Instead of looking fearless, many believed the team struggled to accept one of the biggest defeats of its era. Now the focus shifts away from the pitch and toward FIFA's investigation. 2 disciplinary cases remain open, a prosecutor has been appointed, no deadline has been announced, and the regulations allow for a wide range of possible outcomes. The final itself lasted just 106 minutes, but the consequences of everything that followed could continue for months, and may even affect the start of Argentina's next major international campaign. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more football stories, documentaries, and detailed breakdowns of the biggest moments in the game, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Matchio, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next upload. Your support helps the channel grow and allows us to keep bringing you well-researched football content every week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.